Hello.
Great, thanks.
Hello? Am I audible? Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
I was reminded of a story about Cleveland. The first time I was here on a tour, actually before my Devo days, I was on tour with a group called Sparks. And in those days, pre-internet days, searching out anything was kind of a chore, and my holy grail was two things: collecting condoms, condom packages, and espresso. And in those days, espresso was a rare commodity in the United States. It was pretty much bar culture here, so cafe, there weren't a lot of them. Usually the only place would be a Little Italy. And so on tours though, I'd always wanted to seek one out, and almost every time places that had an espresso machine would be broken. So here we found that place, and then it was with a broken espresso machine, and then right next door there was a yet to be opened shop, and there was a big sign on it that said balloon message. And I went like, wow, is that like a psychedelic band? But I looked at the store and it was going to be opening soon, so it was kind of a lesson in the whole commodification of capitalism. There was balloon message. It was for sending a message via hot air balloon to someone on Earth below. So you could propose marriage or happy retirement, whatever. So the store's not open. There's two signs in the window. There's balloon message, opening soon, and then right next to it was wanted, balloon operator. So it was a very good lesson on how capitalism works. Anyway, that's apropos of nothing, but it was Cleveland in 1982. So, kind of here, talk about, I'll answer any kind of questions a little bit later on, but one thing that happened this fall was while I was in Sparks right before Devo, I had a group of my own called Gleaming Spires, and all those, thank you, just got released, and wanted to say a few words about that. And there's three of them, and there's some available for sale here, and this is kind of what they look like. Small CDs, and maybe at some point there's going to be vinyl too, but anyway. CDs, yeah, CDs are, I like them in my car.
CD culture alive. Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, originally, Futurismo Records, who did the great Devo re-releases of Smooth Needle Maps and Total Devo, were going to do like a box set, but he sadly did not survive kind of the pandemic period. So a label that Chaim connected me with in Los Angeles, where I live, actually was very interested in doing it, so it has now happened.
I guess I could kind of take over from there. Yeah, I'm a music archivist and archival producer, and I work with a number of labels, and basically I said to David, I said, if you want to, he told me the Futurismo was done, sadly, and I said, if you want to keep this project alive, would you allow me to pitch to some other labels? And he, to his credit, said, go with it. And I reached out to my friends at Omnivore, which is a wonderful label. If you don't know Omnivore Recordings, check them out. They do all types of reissues and new artists and everything. And the great part was I didn't have to really go through the whole, usually there's like a whole pitching element where I have to say, you should sign this band, they're really good, they made some great albums, they're really great, he was in Spark. So I didn't have to do that as much with this, because they actually knew of Bates Motel, his pre-Spires band, and they knew Spires. And they were fans already from back in the day, so they were like, yes, let's do this. It wasn't a long, drawn-out process. It was like, yes, let's get these out there. And you know, I know a lot of people did ask why didn't it come out on vinyl right away. You know, for those who don't know, there is a big backlog at the moment with vinyl plants. There's a big, it's taking months and months to release things. So we could have waited a year to get them out, or it could have been, let's get the CDs out first and then, you know, buy those, and then if they sell, we'll do vinyl. And I will say, first off, if you buy the vinyl if it comes out, it's not going to be a cheap cash grab. There will be things on there you can't get on the CD. Because
maybe even something new, yeah.
Yeah, even something new, maybe. I mean, it shouldn't be the kind of thing, hey, you bought it once, please buy it again, pay double the price. You know, I don't like that shit. So it's like, I want there to be something on there that you're going to say, okay, you know, this is something that I've never heard before, and whether it's visual or audio or some sort of, you know, exciting new thing you haven't heard. But yeah, they pretty much went full.
They went full, yeah. They released all three, so the complete thing. The other nice thing, just for us, we did a lot of film stuff, and all of those songs are on various CDs. And actually, my first cross-pollinization with Devo happened on a soundtrack to this movie, Last American Virgin, we were both on. But all of that kind of started the ball rolling. That was kind of 81 to 85 for me. And in conjunction with playing in Sparks, they were both the same band, kind of back and forth. And up to the end of that is kind of when some of my Devo origin stuff started. When they were on hiatus after Shout, I did a lot of studio work at their old studio in Marina del Rey with Bob Casale, who I still miss very much. But he was a great engineer. I mean, like an amazing engineer, very fast, and just for like live bands got it together really quickly, and did a number of projects there, including Visiting Kids with Bob One and Bob One's daughter, and Mark's girlfriend at the time, Nancy Ferguson. So anyway, all of that combined after this period to when they started up again to just ask me to be drumming and did the three records. So.
One of the things that's so great about the reissues also are going through the vault of David's and what he has. I mean, a lot of people obviously, I don't know how many of you know Gleaming Spires that have heard the albums. Hopefully, a bunch of you? A few of you, yeah, you know. As Les said in the credits, he said, originally Les Bowen, the other member, in the beginning and throughout the band said, I hope this sells more than 3 copies that initially sold of all our records. And I put a little thing in the credits where I said, thank you, Les, we'll make sure this sells more than 3. So, there is, people that did buy them back in the day, but going through your vaults and really finding the unreleased material was incredible, because the Bates Motel stuff in particular is really, I mean, if you like power pop and punk, I mean, it ranges musically, but it's 79 LA power pop / punk. I mean, just amazing stuff.
Yeah, and it was on a punk rock label called Posh Boy, which was notorious for you never knew how much you sold of anything. So,
And the funny thing is,
that was the question. Like
the Bates stuff, which on is produced by Andrew Gold, of all people, which I think is, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows who Andrew Gold is, but he's mainly a pop music guy. Not somebody you think of as a guy producing, punk, And that stuff sounds incredible, and to me those tracks, I mean, I told him, when he sent me the files, he just said, all you said was total power pop. And I listened and I'm like, this could have been a Bomb single back in 1979, and guys would be like going crazy for it now, I'm glad people can hear it.
So anyway, so I'm very happy that has come to fruition, and just like in the last month. So this is one of the first times I've been able to talk about it live, and I'm very happy that this exists again. And I'll be sitting in later on too with some stuff towards the end of it. I don't know. If people have any kind of questions on my Devo time or anything else,
if anyone wants to know about how the projects came about or anything, any random.
Same guy.
Yes. Yeah, it's that Andrew Gold, and And we mentioned in the liner notes, because one thing if you don't mind, I'll talk about the liners a little. If you read, I don't know how many people will like us and actually read the booklets that come with the CDs and actually read the lyrics and this kind of stuff.
But it's all there.
It's all there, and the whole story of Gleaming Spires is in there, and it talks about how that connection happened. There's a lot of rare photos in there. There's actually track by track where David and Les talk about how the songs came about, the inspiration, So it's not like that, you open, you're like, oh geez, there's nothing in here. There's more than enough to keep you entertained, and it explains how they were working with Sparks and how Andrew Bill produced them and all these kind of stories.
And there is actually a Gleaming Spires version of Somewhere, a very different take on the song I got to later do with Devo. So.
And then for any Sparks fans, there's a really rare track on there. There's an technically unreleased Sparks Spires collaboration track, which was only used on the soundtrack of a film and never came out back in the day. So it's the only place you'll find that is on the CD. And it's a really printable track. I kind of like the movies.
It's a power trio of guitar, bass, or no guitar, bass, drums, and Ron Mail keyboard.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Feel free to ask them.
Are you still connected to Sparks?
This year was kind of big for them. There was a documentary, maybe someone had seen it. Filmmaker Edgar Wright did a very thorough. They've done like 25 records or something, and I'm in it, interviewed. And
You're going to see him at the Ryman. You're not going to be.
No, I'm not playing with him anymore.
But you're in the film.
But I'm in the film a lot, yeah.
I love there's a great quote from you in the beginning, and it has no place in context, where it's like anybody who's seen the film, it's in the first few minutes where you say, Dean Martin would look at us like this, and it's like, what the hell are you? Because it doesn't make any context, and there's no beginning or end to that story. It's just that. You don't have to tell us one. But
he was Dean Martin was fascinated and oddly upset by Ron Mail's mustache. And when he was like 3 sheets, he was like. Anyway, it was pretty funny.
Favorite Devo song?
Actually, I'm going to actually be able to play one of my favorite songs tonight. There was a live album we did. It was cut in Los Angeles at this place called The Palace. And the last song in the official set was Gates of Steel, which besides being a great Devo song, it has sort of a anthemic rock quality that every time that would start, kind of like my hair follicles would tingle. So that was always a really fun one to play. In the whole career arc, of Devo, the period I was in maybe wasn't the biggest selling, but for my taste, at that point it was back to kind of 5 guys just doing the job again a little bit. It wasn't a huge stage production, and it was all live drums again, very little sequence, and to me, that's what I loved about them initially, because when I first moved to LA, I saw them right when they were trying to get signed, and they were like, man, that's a good group. So, and we were all, Midwest folks. So anyway,
those albums are great, dude. Those albums are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll add in the liners, as you mentioned Midwest, the whole story, because the first album, when for those who haven't seen the booklet, I wrote an essay in each one, and then I basically constructed the liners, which are Les and David talking to one another. You don't see me in it because you don't need to hear from me in it, But you talk a lot in the first booklet about really the first liners about your early years in the Midwest, which are interesting for those who want to know. Usually you just hear about a band, they went to LA and that's it. I think the beginning of the story is a very important part of it. And, and they even said to me at the label, they're like, dude, this first booklet's really thick. Because I went way over the word count. I went way over the word count on that one. I'm like, well, you know what? We really can't take anything out of this, otherwise it'll look really shitty.
Yeah, it might be more than everyone wants to know, but that's the thing. The thing was, in the Midwest, like there was in 75, 76, there were a lot of clubs and people went to see music, but they did not want to necessarily be hearing original bands. So the call of Los Angeles or New York kind of was that's the way it was. And then once you got the deal, you'd come back through. But it was the same thing with Devo. They made trips out to the East and West Coast, and that's kind of how the industry worked. But you learn how to play here because you had to play a lot, and you could actually make a living doing it. So anyway, it was great training coming from Chicago area.
And it is cool reading about, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of, for those who, do you have the CDs on you? One of the interesting things about them are, there's some great hype quotes on these. I feel we should mention that.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan. Besides being a musician, I'm also a big fan and music collector and condom collector and fez collector and a lot of things. But yeah, we got very funny stickers to go on. I think we have the only blurb Aldous Huxley ever did on one. So, anyway.
And there is a good story behind that. Since he's not here to tell it, we'll have to kind of,
Aldous Huxley, besides the novelist and kind of one of the reigning kings of psychedelia, and his book Doors of Perception, the Doors named after. Anyway, he lived in Los Angeles, and when Les was like a wee lad of 8, my partner in the group, like of 8 years old, he was singing in a choir at school, and Aldous Huxley's was at the school for some reason, and sitting next to Les's mom.
I think his niece might have. I think he said his niece went to school
there.
or something.
And at some point during the thing, Aldous Huxley turns to Mrs. Boheme and says, "Your son Les has a lovely voice." So we took that out of context and used it.
It was funny, I'm putting together
30 years later.
Putting together the liners, which, for those who don't know, basically it was hours and hours of interview tape, and then I took that, and usually when I start a thing, I'll do interviews, and then that could be anywhere on a project from a few hours to dozens of hours, and then I sit and transcribe it all, and then I see how much am I going to take out. And he told me that during the phone conversation, and I told him, I said right away, that has to be the hype sticker.
That's the sticker.
I said, that has to be the hype sticker. I said, I won't. So when I reach out to the label, I said, we need 3 stickers, 1 for each album. One has to be the Ron Mayle quote from the back of the first album, that this is the best Gleaming Spires album ever. But I said, you have to put 1981 on that, because it ruins the context. Because now that they have 3 albums, you could say, oh, he said that yesterday, So, and the second one was the
Aldous Huxley,
and the third one is your great quote, which I think really, sums up the band.
My self-description of Gleaming Spires, we always felt, because we would have pretty perky melodies, but very dark lyrics. So the thing was, Gleaming Spires is the sound of being homesick in your own home.
I keep saying I'm like that, because I think we even titled, I might have titled the first essay that. I was like, that's just the perfect, that's such a David, because I love his lyrics. I mean, if you listen to a lot of the songs he wrote, like Mining is one of my favorite Inspire songs, which leads off the second album. And the lyrics, as you said, they can be about several different things. There's all these levels to them. And like, to that quote, there's different levels to it. If I mean, there's a lot of things like that that are just interesting depending how you